Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to tonight's Dogman stories. I'm your host, Amanda Lawson, as always. You guys and gals are great. You guys are the best fans anyone could ask for. You're devoted, you're loyal, you're understanding, caring. You guys are just amazing. Dogman stories would not be here without you. And also, I would like to apologize. We're having some issues with episode 15, Terror by the Lake. Sound issues. So instead of running the story as is, I've decided to stop it until it's fixed. All my stories deserve to be told with perfection. Although I'm not perfect in any way, I can provide a lot better services than that. So I will fix it and give Deborah and you guys, the listeners, a show that you deserve. And I'd like to apologize to all the listeners and Deborah for the sound quality of the last two episodes. On the software, it sounds fine, but on YouTube, when I listened to it, it blew my headphones out of my ears when I spoke, and poor Deborah wasn't loud enough. So I would like to apologize for that. However, we will continue her story in a few days, and we are kicking off the Encounters by State project as scheduled. Next week, it will be Michigan, Ohio, and Kentucky. Some of you have sent me email to contact you, and I will do so. Probably tomorrow. So, I'd like to tell you a little bit about our show tonight. We are doing a follow-up show for you guys. You've probably seen it, episode 10, I See You. Well, apparently the creature has returned. Now, as most of you know, this takes place in the Everglades of Florida, and the incident of tonight's show is based on what happened 2 weeks ago, so it's fresh. As always, I hope you enjoy, so without further ado, Dogman Stories, Episode 16, I See You Again. As usual, I was heading home from work around 9 p.m. one night. I was really tired. I was ready to get home, eat and get a shower and get to bed. I didn't get off work till 8:30 that night, and it takes me about an hour to get home if there's no traffic. Well, I finally made it home. As soon as I got out of the car, I noticed the silence. Very unusual for the Everglades, which was in my backyard. There are always crickets, frogs, and bug-making noises, but not tonight. Come to think of it, not any night this week had I heard anything outside. That's very creepy, odd, and not to mention weird. I couldn't help but think about the night I had seen the Dogman. The feeling I had, I was getting that same feeling of fear. So I walked to the back door cautiously. Only guests come to the front door, and we always use the back door for the main entrance. I was walking to the back door, and I noticed the backyard was destroyed. My mother, who now lives with me, had just purchased a big outdoor patio set that came with 6 chairs, an umbrella, and a long rectangular-shaped plexiglass table. This thing was so heavy it took 5 of us to pick it up and carry it over to where she wanted it, and it was tossed over as if it was nothing. I got to the door. The glass was broke out of the door, and the door, I noticed, was wet and greasy and smelled like urine. What in the crap? I turned around and looked around the yard. The motion lights still worked, thank goodness. The fence we had put up was torn to pieces. I went over to investigate. This was a high-grade aluminum fence that was pretty high. It was put there to keep out the gators and stuff from the Everglades that was in the backyard. The fence had been working just fine until now. I was looking at the area where the fence was tore apart. I noticed claw marks, big claw marks. I got really nervous. I started hearing stuff, and I thought I seen 3 men running around, so I started towards the house. I got halfway, but when I seen the creature on all 4 inside the fence looking at me, it scared me half to death. I froze. It wasn't in the floodlight, so I couldn't get a positive ID on it. Just the outline and the eye shine The moon was out and very bright. The yard was lit up pretty good by the moon, just not by the motion lights. This thing freaked me out. Was it what tore the fence down? I seen the claw marks on the fence, and they were wide, so if this thing was what made that, I don't want to stick around and get clawed up. So instead, I started running towards the door, not even worried if who or what had broke the window was even in the house or not. I run as fast as I could. While I was running, I could feel the ground under my feet shaking, so I knew it was after me, and it had to be really big to make the ground shake. I basically jumped up past the steps, opened the door, and closed it just in time. All of a sudden, this thing put its arm through the hole in the window, trying to grab me. I guess I was in the floor by this time. The door was locked. I turned the deadbolt real quick. What the freak is this? It's trying to get me. It never showed its face. I tried to look at its face while its hand was in the window, but it kept its face out of view somehow. I don't know if it did it on purpose or what. I guess it tried to trick me. It pulled its hand out really slow, and I never seen where it was. It didn't look, 'cause I thought to myself that it's probably waiting on me to stick my head out and it's going to grab me. It didn't look at me, so I didn't look at it. I didn't stick my head out. I was scared to death. I wasn't going to stick my head out and have it stab me in the face with them claws. Oh, it scared me to death. This was the second time I had seen a creepy creature, and it was trying to get me. I don't understand why it keeps coming back. I managed to snap a photo of its arm and hand. Looking at the photo, I realized what this arm and hand belonged to. A Dogman. I called the cops again, and they seemed aggravated that I called them. I showed them the photo that I took with my phone. They told me they needed my phone for evidence, so I gave it to them. And they left. And when I got my phone back, the photo was gone. They had deleted it on purpose. I think the cops knows what's out here, and they're just not telling people. They don't want anyone to know. That's why they deleted it. I really don't understand. Why not tell people there's a dangerous animal roaming the Everglades? Oh well. My mom and dad came home later that night, and I told them all about it. My mother refuses to believe it. My dad doesn't say much. I think he knows what I'm talking about. I think maybe he might have seen it, but he won't. My dad and I went out to check all the damage in the yard, and we noticed the dogs weren't even coming out of the doghouse. They were scared to death and shaken. There were no dead chickens, but one was missing. I don't know if it got out or if it took it. I bet it stole a chicken for later. All the pigs were still there, and the neighbor from down the road came by and asked if everything was okay because he had seen the cops come out from down here on his way home. We told him what was going on, even though I was hesitant, but I felt he should know what type of animal was running around. I mentioned to him that it appeared to be mixed with a grizzly bear and wolf type looking creature. He had mentioned to me that his bull mastiff that was pregnant, he had came home and found her dead that very same day. She had been ripped open. Her spine was broken as if something grabbed her by her legs and slung her up against a tree, hitting her back on the bark. Her stomach was gone and her sack with puppies were gone. She was pretty much ate up. I was horrified. I couldn't stay here anymore. I had to leave. I feel these things are out to get me, and I'm pretty sure it's the same one I saw the first night. I'm terrified. It's capable of turning doorknobs, ripping fences apart, flipping over a table that weighs 500 pounds. I mean, come on, is there something it can't do? And no, I'm not staying here for it to bust through my bedroom window and eat me to death. I moved in with my grandma the very next day, and I'm not going back there if I can help it ever. Well, I can't say that I blame him for moving out and never going back. I would probably do the same, but that's just me though. Well, he did warn his parents, so I hope they stay safe. Now, I believe everyone in the house except the young man works night shift, So they're home during the day, which in this case is probably a good thing. Not that any encounter is a good thing, but if I had to choose, I would prefer a daytime encounter. It's very creepy to know someone or something can see you, but you cannot see it. As far as the creature sticking its arm in the door, that's horrifying. And I just wonder if it was trying to unlock the door or if it was actually trying to grab him. I mean, there's only two reasons it would do that, right? To grab him or to unlock the door. Which, it's actually very scary to think that it could do that. Well, anyways, thank you for sending in this updated encounter. I'm glad you did that. It's really nice to know that this encounter is in Florida. And for those of you who didn't know, this encounter is in Florida. So this is our Encounter by State project. It's one of the shows that's involved. So we did Florida. And we've got another show coming up next that's also based in Florida. Not in the same city, but it's in Florida. And this is in, I believe, well, it's in the Everglades. So for those of you that don't know where the Everglades is, it's a part near southwest Florida, down at the very end. It's got a bunch of state land and national parks and stuff. But anyway, you guys, thanks for tuning in for episode 16. Tune in to episode 17 coming up next. Good night.